Welcome to my magical corner of the internet. I'm Melissa, and I believe that unique business concepts are the single best way to live your full potential. So I see we have a world with no shortage of incredible ideas, and each of these ideas has a promise of what could be, that special thing we sense that could mean if the idea got executed in a way that completely delivers on its promise. And then there is the reality of what most ideas look like when they make it out into the world. It's a much more mediocre, done before, and deflating reality. And that's even if it makes it out at all. So if you felt that your life could be something more, you're not wrong. And in landing in this video, you've discovered a portal to a different future where you get to see how to live your full potential. So my whole life, I've been working out different ways to close this gap, to ensure that what could be and what is are the same. And I want to live in a world where the full potency of the ideas that sit in our minds are realized. And I imagine that you do as well. So for me, I'm here to unlock the world's ideas, and unique businesses play a critical role in realizing that vision. What I do in my business is also unique. So I design businesses that have never existed before. And there are two roles that I play to make that happen, which is business designer and futurist. So a futurist is just someone whose work involves the future. What could be, what is likely, who is making it happen. And a business designer is a designer, but one that makes business concepts. So as a futurist business designer, I believe that business is the most effective way to make a new future we want to live in. And this all comes back to transformation. So as long as I've known myself, I've been obsessed with influence, how something ends up doing or being something else. You can find me wondering why a bug turned left or why empires rise and fall with equal intensity. And initially, I started out in a mix of design and strategy, mainly in the advertising industry, as well as working for myself. I literally worked for myself straight after uni and then entered the ad industry after that. So very early in my career, there was a really important pattern to the way that my abilities developed, which led to what I do today and why I do it well and why I'm the only one. This pattern would start with a question. So I would then actively explore and learn until I had the right answer to that question. And then that would lead me to a new question. And then I would actively explore, learn, self-teach until I had the right answer again. And for me, all of these questions were about influence. So firstly, I asked about influence in design, which is the direct thing that was happening for me right then. You know, if the point of design wasn't to design, but was actually to grow a business. So why weren't we taught how to sell? And then I went and taught myself everything I could about persuasion from the social sciences angle, law, everything, every aspect of persuasion. I made sure I could understand. It took many years. And then my question was, how could I make persuasive, beautiful designs that are also feasible for business? It's this new challenge, new question. I wanted everyone to always say yes to my ideas. And then that led me to teaching myself much more about business, in particular competitive strategy, economics, and behavioral economics. And then it was about virality. What was the difference between a business that spread like wildfire and a really similar one that didn't? And this led to learning about trend analysis and memetics, which is about culture and memes and how they evolve and how sharing actually works and how contagion works. And suddenly this thread that I had been pulling question after question, learning after learning, had just vanished. And unbeknownst to me, quite at that moment, I had all of the ingredients of a successful business. There were no more holes in the theory and no more questions from me about what needed to work. And at this particular time in my career, I was finding myself frustrated because I could make these great ideas and put them out there and get these results, but often the business behind it just was strategically lacking. And this didn't matter if it was a small business that I was, doing as a freelance gig on the side, or if it was a multi-million-dollar multinational conglomerate that we were working with. It was the same problem. And we could put these really lovely jackets on a business that was fundamentally quite boring and not unique at all. And I knew that if I could solve that problem with all of these learnings that I had, that was the area of focus I wanted to work on. And there was nothing for that. There was no one doing the work there. And as ideas sometimes do, it all came together in a dream. So one night I woke up at 3 a.m., vomited, and then spent 4 solid hours writing my methodology out. It just clicked. There's 4 pillars to that. And I talk about that elsewhere on the website. And that's when I started Bombo, quit my job. And like 2 months later, it was full time in this. And like I knew. So the very first client I applied this methodology to went from turning over 2,000 a week in mostly empty venue to a line out the door that had an hour wait. And it included people who had driven hours for the chance to just be in that line and experience the extraordinary. And they went to, 1,000% increase in weekly turnover and all of these other crazy things. And between that client and now, it's been the most incredible time. And for me, this type of results is the rule and not the exception, which is the opposite of what it used to be as a designer and in Adland and working for myself, where I would be creating these concepts and then the client would be like, oh, it doesn't quite hit the nail on the head, but they couldn't articulate why. And that's because they didn't understand the strategy, because there was this big missing piece in the world. And now I feel that piece. And I find just interesting to compare when I work on projects that then get sent on to designers and other creatives to do their brand strategy and to roll it out, the results are so much more successful. Literally the very first round works. It's correct because the exact parameters of what we're trying to achieve, what the potential is, and what is the best case scenario are clearly articulated. So actually what is currently the hardest part for most people without me existing is now the easiest. And then you can get to go wild and creative within that. And I think that's huge. And it's also why many brand strategists are also on my books as clients. And so obviously there is some decent effort behind this work, and the effort that I go to matters. And I do the hard work, you just get to enjoy and lean in. But this work matters and it reaches people and it influences them. And it comes from this magic that reaches them on an emotional level. And this magic has a flow-on effect. The people around me, even if they haven't worked with me, start expressing more of their unique magic because they see how it works for me and think, why not? And I want you to ask yourself right now that same thing everywhere. There's no reason why from right now you can't start doing that. I take you there faster. So this isn't just optimism or experimentation or even creativity. This is a learnable process. And by default, people tend towards the same thing because the same is safe and certain. We know how to do the same things because they've been done before. And that leads to a default where there is one standard for everything. One thing that means beauty, one thing that means success, etc. And another name for this one thing is the status quo. So status quo is an unchanged state. It's the way it's always been done. And I'm basically the global archenemy of the status quo, which led to me developing a unique technique called status quo mapping. And that is about uncovering the extraordinary and the visionary within you. And it's absolutely within everyone. I've seen the blandest beginnings transcend. So I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. If you do work with me, I use the insights from this process, plus my methodology for creating extraordinary businesses and my unique frameworks that blend business and brand strategy. And we use this to build you an extraordinary business. And that business has competitive advantages that catapult your idea to its full potential and then beyond. Like it's like a horizon. It just keeps moving forward as you do, but not in a like stressful moving goalposts way, but in a place where you've arrived and you've got all of this abundance and all of this potential and you're just building on it and just going like, how far can I push this shit? Which is like, that's what life should be. And I wish everyone on earth could experience this. And my long-term vision for Bombo is about trying to make that happen. My work regularly gives me goosebumps. And I want to share with you the particular moments that cause my skin to shiver because I'm experiencing my purpose, which is when your potential has been unlocked. So the first one is when my clients cry in sessions because they realize not only is their idea incredible, and they can now see it so clearly, but also because they're the only one who has the right set of experiences, memories, and skills to bring it to life. They've found their thing and realize they're not only good enough, but they're made to do it. It's amazing. There's also when the clients see why the strategy will work for them so clearly that they start scribbling madly all over the whiteboard if we're in person, or in their notes, typing crazily if it's digital, and firing off all of these different ideas. And then they race home and they begin that night. And in the morning, I've got like texts and emails of just everything that's been unlocked the next day. And that's like so inspiring to me and so exciting. And it's always just like hitting the nail on the head, like every word. It's like, yes, yes, yes. They already know. They're just telling me because they're excited. When a client gets their first rave review from a complete and utter stranger whose world they rocked. So it's like a super fan that came out of nowhere. It was just like, what you do is what I wanted. I've needed this in my life. I'm so glad you exist. We've got when a client earns press coverage for being the future of the thing they do. I love that so much. And their brand is described in the same words as their business strategy, except they never shared those words with the journalist. So it's either their word of mouth is spread so perfectly, or the journalist just sees and just gets it. And it's like, this needed to exist, and they want to share with their platform why. When a client calls me upset because someone has copied them with a worse product, service, or brand, and then like through that conversation, we realize, and they realize that this is the point. They've been copied because they're incredible. They've made it. And the copy is crap because that person doesn't know all of the trade secrets that make it work. And funnily, sometimes this even leads to the shitty copy business actually creating new clients for the real deal, because they're like, they experience this shit original version and then they discover the right one. And they're like, oh my God, I need this because it's better. If you've ever had like a bad haircut or something, it's the extreme unique version of that. So when my clients are busy, like way too busy, bad busy, but they're happy because it's pumping and they made it. And like, that's a very solvable challenge. Grow higher up their prices, etc. Everything's already scalable. They even know what to do to address that challenge. But realizing that the set of challenges they have now is so much better than the lack of clarity of being lost or not really knowing, or just kind of being so-so in the work that they're doing in career, if they then swap to their own business, or in the business if they pivot it and evolve it with me. When someone important shares or wants to hire or buy from my clients because, say, for example, it's like a unique and bespoke version of what they do, because essentially that person is in the target audience and they know that there's only one business right for the job. When clients call me with their next unique, brilliant idea, they've had to grow their business and we're basically screaming because it's so good. They have everything they need to keep going, and they're then the custodian. They don't need to, go to a designer or to me or whoever to find out what the next big idea is, because they know how to create the next big idea and they're doing it. And so they're just coming and telling me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Oh my God, it's amazing. And like, it's obvious why it's amazing. Ticks every box that it needs to, and then they bring it to life and launch it, and their clients are like, yeah, so you're waiting for this, and they buy up all the product or book in all the workshops or services or whatever it is, and it's so good. I would love to work with you on that. I would like you to be the next person that experiences all of these stories, and no doubt if you've been listening to this point, this video has left you excited. So if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at bonboau, BONBOAU, as that is where I regularly share all these kinds of crazy, mind-blowing strategies that you cannot find anywhere else. Say hello to me in the DMs, as I love meeting people who are ready to start a new chapter of their lives that is crazy and a lot of fun.